What's going on, guys? Welcome to another edition of the Narik Chase channel. I'm your boy Narik Chase, and in this video, we are doing another exceptionally well done character ranker video.
Yay!
In this video, we're of course going to be talking about the Daywalker, the legendary vampire hunter Blade, portrayed by Wesley Snipes. Uh, yeah, I kind of ended it off. You want to jump in there?
Oh, Blade. Well, we had 3 movies with Blade, each one a little bit better than the other. We actually even in the thing with Blade, actually, real quick, funny. If you know who Blade is a Marvel character, hunts vampires, keeps them in check because he's a half vampire, half human, basically. He doesn't have a lot of the vulnerabilities that the normal vampires. He's not allergic to the sun. Silver doesn't hurt him as bad. It still hurts him, but not as bad. He's very skilled, well trained, got a badass sword that's all silver, which is pretty freaking sweet.
Mm-hmm.
And but I always pick on the sparkly vampires from Twilight, and there's a meme that was going around on Facebook that had the two main characters of Twilight sitting there and looking all lovey-dovey to each other, and in the background you see Blade with a sword. And it's how it should have ended. I was like, oh my god, so perfect.
I'm gonna see if I can find it.
It's hilarious. But anyway, Blade is pretty badass. I mean, we had some really cool episodes with Blade. I say the first one we get introduced to him, we have a guy, if I remember, is Deacon Frost.
Yep.
There are 12. I'm trying to remember. There are 12 clans of the vampires, which are all true blood born, meaning that vampires are born within vampires. They're not turned. But Deacon is not a true born, if I remember correctly.
No, he wasn't.
In the movie. And so we get him trying to unify or bring together all this to make himself the most impressive super vampire you can do. And, of course, our good guy, Blade, comes in there and puts the whoop ass on him, which is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
But he continues to evolve. He works with a guy named Whistler, if I remember right, who was played by not Jeff Daniels. Man, just spaced out there for a second. Trying to remember that guy's name. I can see his face. I can. Abraham Whistler.
Chris Christopherson.
Correct, Chris Christopherson, who plays the character. He also plays the character in the comics. In the comic series, he's a reoccurring character that kind of keeps Blade in check himself, because Blade still has the tendencies of vampire. You know, I mean, if he gets exposed to blood or whatever, he has the cravings and things. So Whistler kind of helps create his technology and kind of keeps him in check at the same time, so he doesn't lose that true humanity, which is very cool. And he also taught Blade a lot of what he knows, too, because he was an original vampire hunter family, if I remember right.
Yep.
So a lot of cool stuff. And like I say, the action in those movies is pretty wild. When we get into the second movie, we get introduced to... no, was it the second or third one?
Which one? Oh, his daughter?
Where he brings in his daughter. You have the weird, the third one where we actually have the real original vampire Dracula basically showing. And I was trying to remember, what was the second one though?
That's the one where he was with the they had the vampires that were
that took they kidnapped Whistler and tried to make him a vampire.
Yeah, they did that.
That was the beginning of the second movie.
Mm.
Let me go back. Blade movie, Marvel.
Yeah.
Thank God for the internet.
In the second one, he had to deal with a bit of vampire politics, but it was mainly the two main antagonists. One was Jared Nomak, who was genetically altered vampire who bred a breed of vampires that fed on vampires.
Well, they fed on anybody, and they converted them even worse.
Mm-hmm. And then the other antagonist was his father.
Yes, that's right. That was the second one, because the third one was actually where they went after Dracula and brought him back, and he just tore them apart because they were inefficient and stupid people. Okay.
Dracula.
Boom. The original Dracula.
I'm not gonna lie. Blade is Wesley Snipes' portrayal of Blade is what I'm not gonna lie. And somebody else said this, and I completely agree. Wesley Snipes' Blade is the superhero movie that basically kicked off the MCU.
Yeah, I can see that.
If you
Because he was first long before. I mean, what year was that? 98.
98.
So that was almost a good 5 years before Iron Man.
No, Iron Man came out in 2010.
Oh, was it that far down the road?
I think it came out in 2010, either that or 2008. I think it's 2010. Let me see.
Marvel
But
movies. Let's see.
2008. So yeah, he came out 10 years before.
So yeah, you can say that for sure then.
And he managed to bring a comic book, made it really realistic,
but not too corny either. It wasn't cheesy.
And I think it's because it was dark and because it was serious. And Blade is not a joking character, so you didn't get like
it wasn't
kind of like how Michael Keaton's Batman.
Yeah, I mean there were some moments where you had a little bit of subtle humor, kind of like when he walked up on what's her name, looking at the Bush guy thing in his study.
Yeah,
and he kind of threw a little comment out there, just that subtle, tiny humor, but Blade style.
And that's what makes him like such a funny character, is because he's not funny.
Yeah, he's not out there trying to be humorous. He's out there deadly serious, trying to remove the world of these pestilence of the actual vampire, the true-blooded vampires, and even their offsprings. And he trained pretty damn hard for that movie too, because he was ripped and he was very skilled. I know they had him going through swordmaster school and weapons schools and all kind of crazy stuff. Driving, he had to go through some driving, fast-paced driving and stuff. So I mean, very impressive. And
Wesley Snipes owns that role.
Yeah, they had a TV series for a very brief period of time, but the Blade guy who played it he had a kind of the presence, but he didn't have the ooh la la factor that we're looking for, Wesley Snipes in the series.
What did you think about the the origin story that they showed in the film for him?
Oh, his mom was bit by a vampire, and he was born basically, infused with some vampire blood.
I think that's actually a pretty good, because he's basically a vampire, however they say it.
He's a hybrid.
Yeah.
He's human vampire.
Do you think they should have actually showed it?
I think they actually kind of briefly did.
They showed like her bleeding and everything, but I don't think
they didn't show his childbirth or anything. But I mean, he basically, my mom was bit, and they show her getting attacked, and then she came into the church, bleeding out her neck and stuff, and it kind of faded in and out of details. But he kind of came back to him finishing up the story, just telling you the story, not actually seeing the action happen anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it worked. It was effective. I mean, we didn't really need to spend a lot of time on the where or how. I mean, we just know that he is, how he became it was great. Half breed, and then the church took over and basically, raised him as a vampire killer.
Mm-hmm.
Or they gave him to Whistler, basically, and Whistler taught him everything that he knows and some. Of course, he doesn't age like humans either. His aging time is slowed down dramatically. I mean, he still gets old, and I'm sure he could rejuvenate if he had enough blood, but for the most part, he still ages, just not at a pace like us. Maybe like 10 years to one or something like that.
What did you think of his outfit?
Leather and stainless silver and the overcoat
and stuff like that.
I like the trench coat with a blade cut in the back of it.
I liked it. I liked it too, but there were certain sequences that happened in the movies where I was like, it doesn't seem right.
Doesn't fit.
There's some sequences you see him walking down the street in the middle of broad daylight.
Yeah.
And you see his guns. You can see the sword and stuff. I'm like, but he got the most subtle.
Why doesn't he get stopped by the cops or anything?
Yeah, or why isn't it to where it's not trans? where okay, depending on what outfit he's wearing, like he could have it on his back, but if he's going out in a day, why not have it in his trench coat or something?
Yeah, we also had that body armor too. I mean, he kept a big thing of body armor.
Did you like the body armor, or did you like the vest that he had? Because it was, and I know the third movie, he had the vest.
Well, he does have a vest, but the one I'm trying to see which one this is. I think this is the one from. I think this is the one from the second movie, where he's got. Let me make sure. Yeah, this is the one from the second movie, where he has the trench coat, but the upper vest has the clasps on it versus the what looks less. It looks less a vest. Like the first one, he had more of a vest on with broader padding and stuff. And
Yeah,
not as tactical looking. But then in the second movie, he had the coat, but he had a tighter armor setup and the bigger guns on the side holsters. I like that one better than I like the first one. The first one was just enough to give us a taste, and then the third one is completely different altogether. It's not as much tactical. It has the plating and stuff in it, but it's completely revamped from the first two movies.
I do like the first one a little bit more because it does seem like it's more tactical, and I'm glad they kind of carried that over a little bit into the second film.
Yeah, you gotta understand how much weapon systems he carries with him. I mean, just in the second movie alone, you saw introduction of the boomerang, the light grenades.
I like those punching things with the garlic in it. It was silver. That was awesome, man.
What was the other cool thing he had? Well, the sword. I love the sword. I'm just a diehard sword fan. So, especially when in the second movie when he comes out of the blood pool and it's coming up on that one guy who betrayed him, and he just his sword pops out of that dude's hand because it has that booby trap in it. Catches it in the air and freaking slices him in half before the guy can even say a word, and everybody's like, "Oh crap!"
And I think, and that's why I say it's like Wesley Snipes owns that role. Like he deserves thumbs up. He completely deserves a thumbs up for it because
I don't really see anybody taking that role. I mean, we saw this TV series, and the guy who was in the TV series wasn't too bad. I mean, he carried that presence on, but the TV series didn't have him quite as bad. I don't want to say badass, but I mean they were drawing out the story a little bit.
I just think it's because of Wesley Snipes. But like there are some there's levels to acting. There are some actors that when they play roles of like badass, they naturally look it.
Oh yeah, he fits it without a doubt.
Actually, naturally looked the part and felt the part. The other guy, not saying he's not a good actor, but it seems like he wasn't like a natural fit, but he was acting. He was actually acting it, kind of like with Angelina Jolie as Laura Croft. She naturally fits that role. She doesn't have to act.
Yeah, it just drops right in.
Yeah, so I think Wesley Snipes actually just fits the role.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I mean, I had a hard time kind of watching the show because I was expecting him. It's like when you have a movie go to a TV show format and they don't carry on the same actors and you have to deal with somebody else. You have expectations. I mean, granted, the character who played the TV show was okay. It was entertaining, but it wasn't Wesley Snipes.
Yeah. Mr. Sticky Fingers, this is nothing against you. I actually liked his roles in the films and how in the first film he was very important to the story. And I want to say the second film he was very important to the story too. The third film, I don't think he was really that important to the story. Like the first film, the bad guys needed him. The second film, the bad guys needed him. But the third film, he didn't, you know what I'm saying?
He wasn't a necessity at that point. He was more enforcing than he was a participant in one form or fashion.
And I think I'm not sure. Like, do you think they could have had Blade films with just Blade and not Whistler? Do you think Blade's character was strong enough to just pull the movie by himself with no help from any other character?
Well, that depends on how you want to see or entertain the conversion from comic to real time. I mean, if you read the comics, Whistler is a critical part of the show or of the series. But I mean, there are episodes where he is by himself solo. So it is possible. You don't have to have Whistler in every freaking movie, but you have their, what do you say, presence or something is kind of known, like Whistler left me something or Whistler gave me a new toy, even though you don't see him, but you know he's there and the character can still carry on the storyline as is. So, I mean, I have a little mix there. I think the second one gave him a driving factor to get, keep Whistler into the series, although I think he ends up dying anyway, if I remember right.
Third.
So, I mean, there's a lot of play there. But I think he could carry the show solo because at some point in time, he's going to outgrow Whistler anyway. He's going to outlive him. Physically, he's going to outlive him. So, it's kind of like James Bond where you have the Q and the M. You don't have necessarily the same people, but you have the Q and the M.
Yeah.
So, I believe it is very possible to carry. I mean, he could carry it very well, easily, without a doubt.
All right, let me ask you this then. In each movie, he ends up having to work with a female. And I think the most compelling one, because in the first film, he's working with, I can't remember the woman's name, but there's kind of like a respect that they have between each other. And in the second film, he ends up actually developing this relationship.
Yeah, with the daughter of the vampire guy.
Which is pretty cool because I like that. I like in that movie because it does show him, even though he's really stoic, that he can have an emotional attachment.
Yeah, and he has some humanity still that's still there.
And then what made it even more interesting story for the character is she was a vampire. Everything that he hates.
Yeah, and she was a full-blooded one too. She wasn't a hybrid.
So I think that's and I don't know if I wanted to see more of an arc for the character because even though he's in all three movies, generally what happens in one movie doesn't carry to him doesn't really carry over into the next. So you see him with this relationship in this second film, but the relationship never gets brought up in the third film. And you know what I'm saying? Would you have liked to see like a developing arc for the character?
I think Blade was really designed as a episode by episode. I don't think you could really do a good story arc. I mean, it would be very long, and you would have to involve it. I mean, I think the TV show was trying to go that route. But I don't know if it would just be that good of a benefit to do that. I would rather see with a Blade particularly though. I would see story by story, episode by episode. That way, I get the full effect every show, every time, and go from that way. Because if we saw a story arc, we would only get like a little bit, and they wouldn't put so much into it that we would get everything that we want.
Madam B just got me a question right here. She said, would he be able to go against the characters in the MCU? I actually would not mind.
I think him and Cap could go well.
Yes. I wouldn't.
I don't think Iron Man would stomp his ass pretty hard, if not kill him. Hulk would just beat the crap out of him. I don't think he could survive Hulk.
I think a good match between
Hawkeye would be an interesting match, but Hawkeye would be long range, not as close. His toe to toe would be America. Would be definitely his level. Black Widow would probably put a good fight, but she would lose.
Because she had plot armor. Sorry, I like Black Widow, but there are certain moments in the movies she's fighting some kind of superpower being, and she should be knocked out, but she don't get knocked out.
She should be like flat damn dead and survives.
Yeah,
in general, Thor would stomp him pretty easy.
I would say he'd stick with.
I mean, he would have a good fight, but he couldn't beat Thor. I don't see the ability there.
Only ones you can pretty much say is he could probably fight with Black Panther, the Winter Soldier,
Yeah.
and Captain America. He
Yeah.
fight on level with, because they're all
their skill level would be very equal to him very easily.
Like, okay, do you remember on Captain America Civil War, the tunnel chase scene where they were running?
Mm-hmm.
Can you see Blade doing that?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
They could keep up with him.
okay.
Like Black Panther and when they're chasing Black Panther through the car scene and all that. I mean, I have no doubt that he would be able to keep up with that. I mean, he doesn't do it a lot in the movies, but I believe in its just physical profile that he would be very easily to keep up. Now, I think T'Challa would be faster.
Yeah.
Captain would probably be on par physically. I don't know how much Blade would have to. Captain America could go for days fighting. I mean, he's just built. That's just part of the super soldier serum. So he might get him in the long run because Blade might run out of go-go juice, and then he'll get him. Unless Blade's feeding on blood or something, then that's a totally different story.
But you got to think about this. Usually, people that characters that actually have that type of stamina, it's good. It's long lasting when they're fighting against a bunch of people. But when you're fighting someone that's actually on your level, yeah, it drains you.
See, the advantage that he could have in that case, and it may be a slight advantage, is if he actually went to the blood department and sucked on somebody, and then he would have a
full, maybe full,
a darn good 1-for-1 right there. I mean, he would be on.
And not to mention, he's an actual good martial artist.
Yes, he's been training his entire life from infancy all the way up. I mean, really. And he has the physical abilities and strengths. I mean, he's got a lot of strengths and stuff of the vampires themselves, which are pretty fast and pretty quick. But, the super soldier serum is what puts him on par with him. I mean, in comparison, generally speaking, there are a lot of characters who could probably really kick his butt. But in our general knowledge, I think, the Cap, Bucky, T'Challa would be right in his fighting style and realm. Although I think Black Widow could fight in his style, she just wouldn't be able to physically endure it.
Yeah.
For a long period of time, he'd beat her easily.
So. We done came to that time. I want to keep talking about it, but we got to end it here. Well, guys, you've heard our thoughts about Wesley Snipes as Blade. In the comment section below, let us know your thoughts. Do you like him as Blade? Who would you cast as a recast or reboot? And also, if Blade could fight someone from the MCU, who would it be? Be sure to hit that like, share, subscribe, and that notification button to get the best of what's going on in this channel. And be sure to stay tuned because we got more videos that we're dropping tonight. And we'll catch you guys later.